Greetings, friends. 2 weeks ago, I took a journey to the magic capital of the United States, Las Vegas. While I was in Vegas, I took the opportunity to see one of my favorite performers, Mac King, at his new home at the Excalibur. I had the good fortune of being able to interview Mac in his dressing room there. What I'm about to share with you are his insights into books, how they helped him with his career, how they can help you with yours, and overall, what are his thoughts about magic. I loved talking with him, and I know you're going to enjoy it too. So let's roll that footage. We're talking with Mac King here in Vegas, and I know he'll have some exciting things to share with us. So let's get right into it, Mac.
Sure, yeah. Should we start? You give me the definition of erudite?
Sure.
No.
Sure. You know, it's funny because when I chose that, I wanted it to be about books, and so clearly I think erudite punctuates that, but it's funny that people...
You could just say books, though, you know.
I could just say books.
That means books.
Where were you when I was looking for my channel name, right?
Sorry.
Exactly. So I know that you're a big proponent of books, or at least I've heard that.
Yeah, I pretend to be able to read and know what erudite means.
Well, I heard that Learn Magic is one of your favorite books.
Yeah, the Henry Hay book. Yeah.
Yes.
The lesser known.
Exactly.
Not the lesser known, the most lesser known. Encyclopedia of Magic is the lesser known.
I don't know that I even knew about
that. Yeah,
book.
it's not spelled encyclopedia, it's cyclopedia with a C at the beginning. The EN is off of that. And it's just like, what do you think? I mean, it's like ball, and the definition of a ball, and how, and in different magic terms.
Does he share the definition of erudite in there?
I don't know that erudite's in there.
Which explains, right.
Yeah.
So how did you get started with Learn Magic?
My grandfather, Elwood Huffman, my mom's dad, had he had like 3 or 4 or 5 magic books. Let's see if I can whip these out. He had a Walter Gibson little pocket book. Walter Gibson, I think it was called Magic Explained, but it was a little red. I don't have that anymore. I don't know whatever happened to it. I sure wish I had it. But I remember reading about the Inexhaustible Coconut, and I just thought that was the greatest. I mean, as a kid, reading about holding a coconut and water just gushing out of the coconut endlessly. And the method was the stream of water that shoots up inside the coconut, and it was a half, like a hollowed out half of a sphere, and so then it would come hit the middle of the coconut and then shower back down. I thought, wow, I would like to do that someday. So that was one, Magic Explained. There was a Martin Gardner little booklet, and I think it was called After the Dessert, not After the Desert, which is where I am.
Right.
And then there was an Alexander Herman book that was like crazy, because it was like, all right, here's the magician's uniform, right? And so it was the tails coat and all the pockets, the different, there was not just pockets in the tails, but inside here and inside here, but also on the back of the pant leg.
Right. The pochette.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, the pochette. I mean, as a kid, I didn't know how to pronounce that either. Right. I'm like, what's a pochette? I didn't know. And, tables with all the wells and all this tricky crap. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'll never be able to be a magician. I can't afford all those accoutrements. So there was those, and then there was a Bruce Eliot book, and I can't remember which one of the Bruce Eliot books I don't have anymore. It was a little paperback version of one of the Bruce Eliot books. And then Learn Magic. And so Learn Magic was my favorite. I mean, it was just, for those of your subscribers who haven't read it, and it's not as in-depth as the Amateur Magician's Handbook, but it's unbelievable. And one of the things I loved about it is, it's like 20 chapters. Let's say how to watch a magician is one of the things. I thought that was pretty neat. Each chapter is like, okay, the egg bag, or, card tricks. I loved the way it was arranged. I would make my grandmother, there was like I believe in there, I might be wrong, but maybe I got it from somebody else, but I think in there is like the 100-foot rope escape. And I would make my grandmother tie me to the kitchen chair. It's really, kinky, nothing about it. But
do you think that the Learn Magic is still applicable for
Yeah,
today's
I do.
young.
Yeah, I do. I think it's one of the best. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, Amateur Magician's Handbook is really great, and it's illustrate. It's photos instead of line drawings. But those line drawings, I looked up the illustrator of Learn Magic. I don't know, some time ago, because I was intrigued, and that guy, the person had never done any other magic books. He was like a Swedish graphic artist or something that did other cool stuff. I may be wrong about the Swedish part. One of the couple of drawings later in life, I think, I feel like they really influenced my show, because my show is really a close-up magic show done for more people than you should do a close-up magic show for. And part of it, I feel like came from a couple of Henry Hay drawings, or from that guy's drawings. There was like how to pass a coin from one hand to another. And, so there was a drawing of a guy, with a coin and, doing this. You take it from your left to your right, or right to your left. And he said, that's what you would normally do, but on stage, to make that coin trick play bigger, if you turn a little bit and hold your hand out so they can see the palm of your hand and show the coin like this and put it against the palm of your hand, that makes that small trick play big. And so that was very influential for me, I feel like.
So at what point did you start to take the tricks and work on them? Was it when you were really young, or was it later in life?
I don't know, really young. When I really started getting serious about it, I was taking tricks that I did, because the first magic I did for money, really steadily, was walk around in a restaurant. So, I did Carlisle's homing card in the restaurant, and I did the chop cup. I would sit down and do a chop cup routine. Both of those are in my act, but made to play bigger. And when I'm looking for, sort of inspiration, I'm like, all right, yeah, what else did I used to do? Walk around. I also used to do the invisible deck walk around. That was one of the early things in my act. So to me, the two best close-up tricks in the world are invisible deck and multiplying rabbits. And if I could figure out a way that's what I think. If I could figure out a way to make multiplying rabbits play for 400 people, I would be doing that in my act.
That's awesome. I heard you on the Vanishing Ink podcast talking about how you exactly what you're saying, that you took the cards across and you first started doing it, walk around.
Right, that's right. Yeah, so that's another example. Yeah, that's right. I learned that from that handling. I believe is Bob White's Texas card magician, and but I learned it from a friend, Pete Studebaker, who was like a Bob White acolyte. Bob White acolyte. It's fun to say, actually.
Do you still read new books, or is it mostly the old stuff?
Yeah, I do. Speaking of Vanishing Ink, one of my new favorite books is a new Vanishing Ink book. I don't even know whether it's out yet. Stage by Stage.
John Graham.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He talks about exactly what we're talking about right now. And I would have never believed that you could write a book about how to do that. And it's a step. Have you read it?
No, they pre-released it at Magi Fest. I will get it and I will review it, but I have not yet.
It's not. Oh yeah, it's about how to do that. How to take start from a close-up magic show and make it into a stage show. And I would have thought you couldn't. That's too individual of a process that you couldn't really lay out the steps. And it could be that it is too individual a process, and that John and I have the same process, and we're the only two. But I don't know. But I really thought it was great.
But it worked because you're both
It worked for me,
pros.
and it worked for him. And I think it will work for anybody who actually puts in the time and has a natural gift for magic. It's sad to say, but I don't have any musical talent at all. My brother's a professional musician, and he has all of that, and he doesn't have any magic talent. No matter how hard I practiced or worked, I don't think I would be as proficient a musician as my brother.
Right.
And I don't think he could practice. Maybe, I may be selling him short. Maybe he could do it. He's very smart, my brother. But I just think that I'm really lucky that my natural proclivities corresponded with my dream. Right, and so that's not always the case. So I don't know whether everybody can follow John's rules and become a professional magician. But I think if you do have that natural something in you, then yeah, it's gonna guide you and save you a lot of years of trouble.
Right, learning from those who've gone before.
Yeah.
When you're reading through a book, what makes something jump off the page where you want to work on it, because you obviously put a lot of work into these pieces to get them into your stage show?
Well, I mean, a big part of it is, hey, is nobody doing it?
I mean, why you don't do the invisible deck anymore, probably.
Well, that's right. I don't do the invisible. I mean, it's like I said, it's the greatest trick ever, but I mean, so many people do it. And if I do walk around, I just did a walk around thing. I hadn't done one in, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, maybe longer. I just did one last week, or I don't know. And put the invisible deck in my pocket. And I still do. I have a version of it. It's based on the Carol Fox's Little Red Table trick. When I did it in my act, I did Carol Fox's version. Then the invisible deck, the gimmick deck, was an out instead of the reveal. When I do like a longer show, if I do like a theater where I'm doing 2 halves that are like 45 minutes to an hour, then that goes back in some of the stuff. But that wasn't your question. Your question was, how do I, if I'm reading? So if no one's doing it, is kind of the first thing I'm looking for. I don't, I mean, I'm trying to not be doing what, Derek Hughes or John Lovick or, any of the comedy magicians that I admire, Rob Zabrecky. It's funny. So there's a story about that. We'll sidetrack.
Sure.
When it first came out, I'd gotten the Tom Stone book. I can't
Vortex,
remember.
or
Is that the first one?
Can't remember if it was Vortex or the other
Maelstrom.
one. Yeah, Maelstrom. Yeah.
So whichever one had the hug kill trick in it.
Yeah.
And so I just got it, just read it. I'm like, holy, this is a great trick. It'd be perfect for me. And I happened to be in L.A. Well, anyway, I just read this, and I'm like, I'm going to put this in the show next week. So good. And I think it would fit me perfectly. It's so offbeat and odd and great.
I see that.
And so we're down in the library at the Magic Castle. I'm talking to Zabrecky and Mike Caveney, and Tina Leonard's there. And John Armstrong walks in, and he says, Rob, have you seen Tom Stone's new book? I'm like, and he said, there's a perfect trick for you. and he describes this thing, and I'm like, you know what? It's better for Rob Zabrecky than it is for me. So I'm not going to do it.
And he does kill with that.
Yeah, it's a great, great trick. It's a great premise, and man, I would love to be the only guy doing it. But but it's better for Rob than it is for me. So I'm like, all right, crap.
Very kind of you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better for him, and if he started doing it, so nothing anybody else is doing. And then if I can figure out some sort of a little Matt Kingy hook to it, right? That's the hard part for me. Is like, I'm doing the chop cup, but it's not, it's not like the chop cup, with the guinea pig and all that.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I'm doing cards across, but it's not, cards across. I mean, it's the hook is for it is what makes it interesting for me is the cloak of invisibility. And so if I get some sort of inspiration or something to make it sort of more me, then that makes it worth learning. Very seldom do I read something and go, yeah, that would be perfect. And there's a couple of things in Rune Kalan's book where I go, I could do that. But then that book was very popular among stand-up comedy magicians, and a lot of, all the good shit was already taken by, because I'm not in any competition with Rune, but here in the U.S. when Josh put that book out, Josh and Andy, it was like, man, crap. All right.
Right. Now, you mentioned a few people earlier on that you kind of looked up to now, Rob Zabrecky and others. When you were young and just starting out, who were some of your heroes in magic or comedy?
Well, incongruously, I mean, Richard Pryor was a big hero. My act is not that much like his.
Right.
But magician guys, there were 3 big guys for me. Roy Benson, Billy McComb, and Jay Marshall. So those 3, and I got to be good buddies with Jay and Billy, really good, close friends with Billy. Roy Benson I never met. He was not around by the time I would have met him. And so tracking down video of Roy Benson and before Levent's book came out, trying to, find little he put out some manuscripts and tricks and stuff. And so big fan of his. And I remember seeing him as a kid on TV doing billiard balls, Roy Benson. And so I was quite enamored of him. But then Billy, there's so much of Billy in the show, and then Jay, those guys, the reason is those guys, for me, those guys are what I'm shooting for. I mean, I want it to be really strong magic and really funny, and those 3 guys were sort of the kings of that for me.
Well, mission accomplished. Love your show, absolutely. Do you have anything any advice for young magicians just starting out, or even those that are, long into their career about either being funny or learning magic in general, whether it's from books or otherwise.
You know, I mean, I think we're in a good spot. I mean, there's people are still putting out magic books, which is great.
Yeah.
And there's also videos too. And I think, you know, sometimes that can be a good supplement. I think it's really hard to, I don't know what would have happened to me if I had video of, you know, like Roy Benson's whole act or Billy's whole act or Jay's whole act as a kid. It would have been hard not to copy those guys word for word, move for move. At least initially for me, you know, learning from a book allows you to interpret it the way you put your own spin on it a little more.
Yeah, in your case, to put that Mac King touch on it.
That Mac King touch, I figure since I'm Mac King, I have that in spades.
You're the only one, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
We quote that at my house all the time. Have you seen Barton Fink, the Coen Brothers movie? It's John Turturro, and he's a writer, and he gets hired by some movie company, and he's like, we want that Barton Fink feel. We feel like since you're Barton Fink, you got it in spades.
We got Mac King in spades.
Yeah. Howdy, I'm Mac King. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep reading.